listening to the Devil Dog Talk Show.
This show contains explicit material and is recommended for ages 18 and older for mature audiences only. But hey, it's the internet.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Devil Dog Talk Show. Today we have Ted Painter from CareSource. Now Ted has a long history, but one of the good things that they're working on over in CareSource, and we're going to touch on today, is understanding healthcare resources for veterans. How are you doing today, Ted? How are you feeling?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for making the time on this special Friday. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I'm excited. How is it that you got involved with CareSource, and do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your history?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Ted Painter, currently the AVP of Market Operations for CareSource Military and Veterans. It's a subsidiary of CareSource, and I'm currently still serving in the reserves. I'm a sergeant major in the reserves, and so still get to serve. So yeah, I mean, I did 10 years active duty. And it's sort of a long story, and we all have a different sort of transition story, right? Mm-hmm. Actually, early in my first enlistment, I got pretty sick. I was stationed in Okinawa and had to get medevac to Balboa, and it was sort of a near-death experience, I guess you could say. I just really appreciated what everybody there, did for me and got me back on my feet and got me back to 100%. And I was able to continue to serve, and so I always really appreciated that, and always was trying to think of ways to, give back. And from that perspective, didn't quite know how I didn't think I would necessarily get into the healthcare space, but I always remember that piece. And then when I was transitioning to the reserves and to the civilian world, unfortunately, I tell this story because it has purpose. I was one of those guys that didn't have a plan, mm-hmm. right? Which is sort of, it's always funny when I think about it. But my wife and kids had already moved back to Ohio, and I was transitioning from 29 Palms, and there were some companies that were making a push to hire 100,000 veterans at that point. This was 2011, 2012. And so it was a consortium of companies like JP Morgan Chase and some other banks and stuff. And so I interviewed for a role, and I was, lucky enough to break in and get a job there. And I was in the finance space for a few years, and it was good work, and I learned a lot and a lot of great people, but in the finance space just wasn't really kind of speaking to me. And I wanted to, get into something different to where I could actually make a difference, be, again, like in the Marines, be bigger, be part of something bigger than me type thing. Mm-hmm. An opportunity came up at CareSource, and I had no healthcare experience except for when I was in the hospital. I was able to get the role, and I've been with CareSource ever since. It's been about 10 years. For many years now, probably 6-7 years, we've been working on military and veteran related initiatives, both officially and unofficially. And a few years ago, we were able to establish CareSource Military and Veterans as a subsidiary of CareSource. And CareSource is a nonprofit organization. They focus on government programs like Medicaid, Medicare Advantage, Marketplace. So we provide those services to those folks who are eligible for that. So we provide their health care in those programs. When I first started working at CareSource, I was pretty taken aback at the impact that we were having on everyday people, right? About how we went above and beyond to take care of them. And I just, as a TRICARE beneficiary still, and, service-connected disabled veteran, and so I have VA benefits and all that stuff. I just thought, man, if we could take even a percentage of what we do here and apply it to TRICARE or VA, we could make a huge difference. And so, we didn't quite know how we were going to get there, but all the pieces and parts always sort of seemed to land where they needed to. And after we established CareSource Military and Veterans, we had the opportunity to bid on a couple TRICARE contracts. These contracts are DoD approved programs in Atlanta and Tampa. and we get the opportunity to provide TRICARE Prime benefits to those folks who are eligible for that. And so we get to take a little bit of what we do every day and been doing for over 30 years, and apply that to the military and some of the veteran community. So really, it's been a journey for sure. Like everybody has their own unique story, but wouldn't change a thing so far. I'm just really happy and proud to be part of what we're about to do for folks. It is exactly what I've been trying to get done for many years now, and so now we're here.
That's beautiful, man. It's excruciatingly exciting for me. Okay, as a Medicare patient, right? As a veteran,
Right.
trying to find those resources, trying to organize those thoughts, those pillars of actual effect and effective care, right? How do we incorporate, better strategy and conversation and policy and subsidiary groups and programs and all these things to facilitate, actually fulfilling that promise, to take care of our veterans?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So CareSource, you said, started about 30 years ago. Now they have a CareSource Veterans, and they are taking care of veterans. They're providing assistance with Medicare and other programs like that. How does a veteran or somebody or like a family member how would they get involved with CareSource, and how would CareSource be able to help them, so to speak?
Yeah, so I think from a traditional parent CareSource perspective, right? Like if you're eligible for Medicaid or, like, to your point, Medicare, and a lot of people I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because not every Medicare member is retirement age folks, right? It's folks who have chronic conditions, have complex needs, and are eligible for Medicare because of that, and Marketplace. So yeah, we serve veterans within those populations, and we've taken that into account when we work with them and talk to them and serve them. And then in Atlanta and Tampa specifically for what we're doing, this is TRICARE specific, right? So it's not VA, it's DoD, and so active duty families, retirees and their families, so military retirees but not on Medicare. Survivor families, and a few others are eligible to sign up and participate. I mean, essentially at the end of the day, what it does is during open enrollment, which DoD calls open season, which is, it's actually from November 10th to December 9th. They in Atlanta and Tampa, they get a choice, and typically they don't even really get a choice, right? It's TRICARE East, and there's one contractor that manages that. And year over year, if your situation really hasn't changed much, then you don't really need to go do anything. But if you want a choice and you want a different option for who provides your TRICARE benefits to you, then they can go out there and select us to do that for them.
That's amazing. Because I know for our listeners, we're getting into the mud of technical terms and coverages and things like that, which it does. It gets muddy really quick. But, I really believe the way that, we're kind of structuring this conversation about CareSource, implementation, open season, right? What is an open season, and how does somebody make sure that they get involved at the right time for the things that they may or need?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, some folks, may be fairly familiar with what's called open enrollment. And so, like, you're on Medicare, it sounds like you said.
Yeah.
And so there's an open enrollment period every fall, right? And it's very similar. So I'm not sure where they get the open season term from, but that's just what DoD calls it. So they call it open season. Again, it starts on November 10th, goes through December 9th. And the folks who are eligible for TRICARE can go out there and select who provides their benefits a couple of different ways. They can go through MilConnect. So there's it's called a beneficiary web enrollment portal behind MilConnect. And so they can log in there. That's where sometimes people make changes because, like, they have a new child, or, if they got some sort of change in their life that they need to make a change out there. So they can do it that way. And they can also go to our website, caresourcemilitary.com. And they can give us a call as well if they want to talk to us. They got some questions about what they're going to do and what we can do for them. Is it okay if I give the number?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so,
Absolutely.
yeah, so it's 833-230-2080. And we've got military affiliated customer service reps. These are folks that are either veterans or family members of veterans and service members, and they're trained to work with military and veteran folks and can answer all their questions, can tell them, hey, is my provider in your network, and that kind of stuff. So we can answer all those questions for them. And then this year, especially for us, DoD has another partner that's going to work with us to enroll them, and so we would facilitate all that for them if that's what they want to do. Again, they can go through MilConnect if they want, but I think it's important that people know, especially in Atlanta, Tampa this year, that for one, they have a choice when they don't typically. If they want to make a change, they got to actually take steps to make the change. It just won't be automatic. And so, yeah, so again, they can do MilConnect. They can go to our website, CareSourceMilitary.com, and then they can give our number a call as well. And at this point, I just want everybody to know, hey, we're here, we exist, and this is a real thing. And we're excited to serve these families, and just looking forward to it.
See, that's amazing that you brought it up that way, is that we're a real thing. We're really here. This is really happening, because
Right.
it's very difficult in the veteran community to create new pathways and then have engagement because of, I don't want to say just the training and the conditioning and everything else, but let's be honest. We're talking about, sensitive issues, healthcare issues, being open, being vulnerable, learning and digesting new things that may feel or look on, let's be honest, optically. If we're talking about engagement and participation, when I bring up Medicare, people look at my face and go, "What the hell do you know?" And I'm like, a lot,
Yeah.
actually. I had to learn a lot this year because I had
Yeah.
to pivot from VA care entirely to Medicare because
Wow.
of the issues that I've had.
Wow.
Actually, I just spent a nice hour-long conversation with a lady from the offices at the VA expressing the issues that I've had.
Yeah.
And it's one of those intersecting pieces of success, right? If we communicate and we provide, right, the perspective shift of availability, like you said, and people don't even know that this is out there. Atlanta, Tampa, listen up, right? It's not
Yeah.
just a rap video shout out song. Atlanta, Tampa, hey, listen up, okay? We
Right.
have to get people to kind of break down those, those little
Yep.
blinders that we have every day, our mundane day-to-day tasks, our routine, and see the value. Because when you brought it up and you hit it hard, you were medically transferred from Okinawa to Balboa. That was my old hospital. I
Wow.
essentially grew up in that hospital from 2005 until I was medically hardship transferred from El Centro back to NMCSD in 2011. Great times, great facility, wonderful research,
Yeah.
beautiful people. Everybody woke up and went mission oriented hardcore. I love that command, right? And to
Yeah.
see that same motivation, when we're talking about this CareSource veterans military.com, right?
Right.
CareSourceMilitary.com,
Right.
and the resources available, that's kind of the same thing. Like when I was a young man, knowing what kind of protein powder was smart. You knew what to take. It was clean, right?
Right.
Or energy drinks, the Rippets, right? Those
Right.
things were good for us back in the day. But as an older gentleman on Medicare, I got to go, hey man, how do I make this work? Because it is confusing. So
Yeah.
with those resources that you guys have at CareSource, you brought up this thing, and it's very important, is the communication, that you have veterans and you have military family members that are there to take and onboard these people, because that is usually a barrier, is people don't understand me. They don't know where
Yeah.
I'm coming
Speak
from.
language. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you feel when you guys proposed, that type of I want to say situation to really create that rapport with the market and with the audience that you guys are seeking? How did that come
Yeah.
about?
So, from the very start, I've been preaching pretty hard, for everybody, because look, I'm like one of those like old veterans. Like you see something on TV and it don't look right, I'm like, oh, look at that, that's wrong, And my wife would just get so annoyed, but it's true though. I mean, we all do it, And, I said, look, anything we put out there has got to be 100% authentic. We're not making this up. It needs to come, like, I'm a TRICARE beneficiary still. We've got, a bunch of folks on the team that are also TRICARE beneficiaries. They're military spouses, or spouses of a retiree, caregivers, married to veterans. So literally the whole team is comprised of that. And so that is like at the forefront of every decision we make. Like, how is this going to land with people? Because this has got to look and sound and feel legit to them, not a gimmick, not salesy, right? And it's not the run of the mill, what they're used to. Like, I just can't do it that way. Cause that stuff bothers me. It's like there's some organizations out there, and I'm not necessarily saying in healthcare, but just in general, right? They pander to veterans and stuff like that. Right. But it's not authentic. And so everything that we're doing from that perspective is keeping them at like the center of everything we're doing, whether it be, the care model that we're going to provide for them and what they really need, or how we talk to them. We capture their branch of service and their rank in our call center system so that we know those details and can speak to that. And it's the little things that matter, I think, to this community. And, if you're doing the little things, the big things will, take care of themselves type thing. But, we're doing things that are different. This is still TRICARE Prime, so they get the same benefits. They don't lose any benefits. It doesn't cost them extra money. If they pay a monthly premium today, these are typically retiree families. Well, that's waived for the first 12 months that they're with us. Also, another thing is, a lot of folks choose a different type of TRICARE because they don't want to deal with having to get a referral every time they need to see a specialist, right?
Exactly.
And that referral has to get approved by the government. It takes time, doesn't always get approved. I mean, most do, but it still takes time. And so, they're willing to pay more for a different version of TRICARE so they don't have to deal with that. Well, with us, we're still providing TRICARE Prime, but no referrals are required. So if there's a specialist in our network and you need to go see that specialist, then go. We're not going to be a gatekeeper. Yeah, we're going to streamline their access to the care, because that provider's in our network. Why would we not allow you to go there?
Yeah.
So
you're making too much sense, man.
You're
making too much sense. Like, that's the thing in every circumstance. And I love this conversation so much, not just because of the importance, but because of the application for my personal experience. Okay.
Right.
I hear horror stories, I've been told, PPOs, HMOs, and I'm just like, hey, I was down with OPP back in the DAY. All right. I don't know what you're saying anymore. Okay. But it is excruciatingly confusing. And sometimes I feel like it's done so to create like exactly the thing you're circumventing, is that barrier to access.
Right.
That to me is the keys to these solutions. The way you brought it up, hey man, this is the center focus. This is the way we're doing it. We're implementing that. P.S. also, and we incorporate the individual's unique self and what their needs are based on what they have access to. See, because that's the killer right now. My hand's thrown up. That's the killer. This morning, this is what it was. I sent a tweet, and it ended up being with Dakota Meyer and the Secretary of the VA, Doug Collins. Okay. And I brought up a situation that I had been faced with here in San Diego, accessing care relative to my medical necessity. Okay. That's it. It's a very simple thing. And with Medicare, I've had to pivot entirely from the VA. And of course, there's the gaps, there's the requirements, there's the technicalities with that. But knowing that there's other resources like CareSource, military.com, and yourself, right? Then that gives me a sense of not just enlightenment, but hope of, well, maybe I can get the thing that I thought I couldn't, because guess what I met? Guess who I met today, folks? Ted Painter, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm so happy, because to me, these type of issues, I hope to God we answer them before people hit the wall of consequence of them not knowing this information. The open period, November. I'm sorry, say again.
Yeah. It's open season, and it's November 10th to December 9th.
November 10th to December 9th. It's so important to understand that availability and then
Yeah.
to take action on it.
Right.
It may change things, it may not. And that's the something that, the lady I was discussing things at length with today, we left it off on a note of, if we find resources, then we have to advocate for, at least for the engagement of or awareness of it. That way, it, even if it's viable or non-viable, we provided the opportunity for it to sustain, right? If
Right.
it's a seed, we need to incubate it. If it's a baby, we need to feed it, change its diapers. We're not saying the veteran community is as I'm sorry, needy as those two, but we do need to be just as gentle with the way that we do things, because you brought it up. If we seem to be misauthentic or disauthentic, whatever the word is, right? Unauthentic,
Right. Yeah.
what we create is a volatile situation of
Right.
trust and lack thereof. That is the biggest important target, I would say, any industry, period, in today's day and world. Just if you're a computer company, if you're a tech company, if you're a water company, let's just be honest, okay? Being
Hmm.
authentic, people are peeling back those layers of, well, what am I actually getting out of this, right? And it
Right.
sounds to me that you guys have really cooked this egg very well, where it's like, hey, it's that soft boil. You got that delicate touch. Just put the right time and effort in it. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Where do you see CareSource's support kind of developing further? And how would, let's say, we have those kind of conversations to support its growth?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're doing and what we're building right now, right, is what I think is going to be the future of TRICARE, right? It's really bringing industry best practices and innovation, and to your point, more of a softer touch to what we're doing. And behind the scenes, we're doing things that are different for TRICARE, and a lot of this stuff won't be visible to folks,
Mhm.
but it's how it works in the background that we're going to show that there will be better health outcomes overall for the population that we're serving. We're going to drive down costs, right? There's a lot of things that we're going to achieve, and then taking those lessons learned to affect the broader requirements and the broader impact of TRICARE as a whole is I think where this is going to go. I mean, I think we're going to make a big impact just from a beneficiary experience perspective. And it's the same benefits, but it's how those benefits are managed is what's going to make the difference, right? Like we're going to provide care management. Folks who have like complex needs and they need more help and attention, they're going to have a care coordinator assigned to them.
Mhm.
And so these are the folks that are going to help them navigate all their needs and systems and their appointments and help them with all of that stuff, because a lot of people are essentially on their own,
Yes.
right? A lot of folks have spent years and years and years learning how to get things done. I know one lady that I know, she's a TRICARE beneficiary and a wife of an active duty service member, and they have a family, and she's carrying this folder around with her of billing issues or what have you that she's trying to get resolved, right? And it really shouldn't be like that, right? And so we're trying to provide them what they're eligible and should be receiving, but just do it in a way that is streamlined. They've got more options, and at the end of the day, it's like the care they deserve, a choice they've earned.
Mhm.
So it's just doing a little bit differently and taking those lessons learned and expanding that. And then CareSource military veterans, we're looking at other opportunities in the space, and future opportunities where we can help in the VA space and what have you too. But right now we're definitely laser focused on giving these TRICARE beneficiaries the best of the best. So
That's right. First shots out have to be effective, right?
right.
And that's something beautiful that I see happening here, is the momentum, which I'm pretty sure you, the visionaries, everybody behind CareSource sees this.
Right.
I do tremendously. I'd love to talk your ear off about it,
Yeah.
off record, right? But
Yeah.
I see it, and it's something that I feel is just so important, because you are laser focused on TRICARE. That's
Mhm.
great. we're going to get answers, we're going to get solutions, and those things are going to transcend into other systems and modalities that then compress the issues that we're seeing reflectant. Like the lady walking around with the file, like it shouldn't be like that, right?
Right.
The should is where we have sat too long in. We have sat too long in our own should, and we can't smell it anymore. Okay, that's the problem. And what we all need to do, this is me included, hey, we need to advocate and communicate, articulate the need. I'm pretty positive, gentlemen like yourself, right? You didn't at that day when you're in the hospital in need, didn't think, hey, in 20 years, 15 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm going to be leading the way on how to make sure we deliver these things for TRICARE, right?
Right.
But here you are, right?
Yeah.
Here you are, dead center, Marine, right? Dedicated, lean, mean, green fighting machine, ready to cut that red tape and just take chunks out of that rear end known as bureaucracy. Because what we need to do is understand that the delivery of the outcome is what generates the revenue that we're leveraging every annual budget. And eventually the public perspective, if we don't start asking for these outcomes to then be rendered, the society like Washington Post came out and said, hey, dude, these guys are getting too much. It's too lucrative. It's too much that. It's too much this. But in reality, no, we have women, we have family members fighting tooth and nail, trying to fix payments, trying to say, no, this is what they need. This is what they need. We already tried that Medicaid. We already done this. They do that. And that is where I see solutions like CareSource, military veterans, and everything else that you guys are creating, because that's the fight nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to know all that. Like you were saying, the how the burger is made. Okay, nobody wants to know the CFR codes. Nobody wants to know the insurance codes, what forms you got to file. Come on, that's not sexy. Okay,
No. Yeah.
That's a back room in the basement. You just open a file a couple times type of work. You don't want to do it every day, right? But we have to do that hard work, and we got to communicate the value of that hard work, which is things like that open season period. All right, we got to take those actions. Like the one that you brought up really kind of shakes to my core is the care coordinator.
Yeah.
The care coordinator is such a pivotal role in the development of a successful therapy. Let's just say not necessarily a healed or an outcome that is, removed the disability, but it's supported the need, right? Understanding how to say, hey, this veteran has falls, this veteran has severe pain, this veteran has this. They need to have maybe 4 or 5 specialists, neurologists, endocrinology, you name it, and trying to navigate that while also being that patient.
Right.
That's excruciating. So the solutions you guys have, man, like as the patient, not just as the host, but as a patient, I'm like, geez, that's really
awesome.
I
mean, and to your point, like the care coordinator in that example is going to be one resource that's part of, an integrated care team that the beneficiary would have, to your point. Like if they're having that many complications and complex needs, their primary care manager, their specialists, their care coordinator, and the beneficiary themselves are in the middle of those conversations with those people. Mm-hmm. So so part of this is in their hands because they're giving feedback to that team real time, to your point. And so, it takes them from sort of navigating and trying to figure this all out on their own. Now they've got a team of people, right, that are there assigned to them, helping them navigate, remember appointments, schedule appointments if they need help scheduling appointments. And so, it's the same benefits, but man, it's all in how you do it. That can make a huge difference.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I really am. Me too. Now, to pivot a little bit more about yourself, right? Coming from the military background, you mentioned this, the way you mentioned it really, really spoke to my inner soul. You get to continue to serve. How is it that the capacity that you are in now, like at the beginning in the early stages, now to reserve, how does the sense of service as a Marine then help you see the clearer vision with CareSource?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm a sergeant major with a reserve helicopter squadron out of New Jersey. And, and so I'm the sergeant major for not just the reservists in the command, but for the active duty Marines in the command, the active reservists. And there's a lot of them that I have to help them navigate TRICARE and other things, and get prepared for VA as they're transitioning out and things like that. So that it really helps keep me grounded, I think, because those guys are in front of me all the time,
Mm-hmm.
And so I, get to work with them and their families and help them navigate what they're going through, and help them out. And I think it just, again, like with our team too, I mean, what we're doing, what we're building is not an easy thing to do, right? It's a lot of work. But we keep those folks at sort of the center. Like, it's a lot easier to like do the hard things if you're keeping the mission at the center of, and that those folks at the center of everything that you do. It just makes it so much easier to go through the hard stuff, right? Because at the end of the day, this is going to be better for them, and it's going to really help them, and it's based on real feedback and scenarios from real TRICARE beneficiaries that I work with all the time, or us that are on the team, and so I think when you're in the reserves, and especially at a senior level, you don't necessarily have to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I think we choose to still do it. Because I get to help Marines, and it's still fun, and all that. We're not doing it for the money, so it's sort of a different approach. But yeah, so I get to work with those guys all the time, and they kind of help me keep me grounded, right? It's sometimes it's just cool to still put the uniform on when I get to, and it's always cool to always take it off when I get to go home. But no, I think working with those folks really helps me, because I see those guys with the uniform on, and I'm like, well, this is, obviously not in New Jersey specifically, but these are the folks that we're doing this for. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
No, that's beautiful, because every time I think about the past, right? When I get in those dark moments of succumbing to the challenge, right? And when you're in those dark moments, having those type of purposeful anchors, right? Being able to say, hey, look, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it for those guys. I'm making sure their future, right? We're planting the seeds for the trees to provide the shade for them to cool off, because the work that they need to be doing, my God, we don't even know. It was a great conversation I had with, Forrest Faison last year. Great guy, same admiral from when I was serving with in NMCSD. It's the preparedness of that next war that we have to establish our infrastructure and our support systems based off of. And that inability to have that leadership quality is what is rendering these kind of, I want to say, ad hoc successes. Okay.
Yeah.
Where we get a little bit, but then it has that diminishing return. With these type of presentations, these conversations, these this invocation of spirit or esprit de corps, right? The camaraderie, the truth of the why is the most important factor of the purpose. You get to still, quote unquote, play Marine, but let's be honest, even when you take that uniform off, you are still Marine, still green, still mean, right? Still mean, yeah, right.
My team will tell you, yeah.
Yeah. And then moving forward to this industry, right? That is, I don't want to say convoluted, because I just don't think anybody's really paying attention to it. I don't think that there is market saturation for conversations like this.
Right.
I don't think there's, hey, a podcast dedicated to learning when the open season is to get your Medicare files in. Okay. I just don't think that's marketable. But the success stories that are bridged by your guys' service and the implementation of vision is where I see our community as a whole, not just desperate for it, but ignorant to their desperation for it, right? And that's something that could be controversial, because if we don't know what we don't know, that can still hurt us. It's just, I'm excited. I'm really excited to see where this is going. The CareSource, yourself, your team, the vision. I did want to ask you a few more questions about you. You said you served with the helicopter squadron.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like? I served with Greenside, but I was I was a corpsman. I didn't get to really do anything too cool. What was that
Yeah,
like?
yeah. I mean, so predominantly my whole career I've been on the ground side, right? So this is the first time I've been with a flying squadron. I've been with a support squadron before, but not with a flying squadron. And it's been eye opening, really, because I think when you're on the ground side, you make comments about the wing, all these stories, right? Swinging with the wing, right? These Marines work just as hard, if not harder, as any Marine on the ground side. Day shifts, night shifts. These maintenance crews, these guys that keep the birds in the air, man. I mean, they crush it day in and day out. I mean, so some of the smartest, most hardworking folks I've been around, let alone Marines. And so it's been great. It's been definitely a different experience as a sergeant major. From ground side to air side, it's a different animal completely, right? Um, but not necessarily in a bad way. I mean, it's just a different type of schedule, a different tempo, different.
Different mission.
It's a different mission. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's to support the ground fighter, right? At the end of the day, and that's what they do. But man, it's. I've been there for 2.5 years. I'm transitioning from this unit to a new unit here in the winter, but it's been a great experience. And like I said, being on the ground side and sleeping in fighting holes way too many times. And I was getting too old for that stuff, man. Anyway,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
like, yeah, oh, you're sending me to the wing suite. But no, it's been a great experience. Yeah, it's been awesome.
That's beautiful to hear. The other reason why I bring it up is I was attached to NFL Centro. We got to work with a lot of the Blues and
El
the
Centro,
Marine Wing and everything.
yeah,
Yeah. It's a command. A lot of people don't know that. They forget.
no,
It's
they got
it's a
they got a lot of stuff going on out there. Yeah, it's pretty busy. Yeah,
it's a very busy place, and some of the work that I never beforehand I never got to be a part of, but like you brought it up, the work tempo, the maintenance on these vehicles, right? The aviation vehicles, the preparedness that goes into flight medical approvals, right? You got your flight surgeon, you got your flight techs, and all these different people that support it.
100%.
The mission operation, right? I live in an area where that's what reminded me to ask you about the helicopters. We get squads, or what do they call that when they formate? When they're in formation,
Right.
when they formate, when they're in formation, like in twos and threes, and we get like groups of like twos and threes for about an hour, just like
Yeah.
directly over my property. And I could just
Oh,
wave.
wow.
I put my binoculars. Sometimes their feet are dangling. I'm like waving. I'm just waiting for another guy to wave back. I'm just going to lose it. But
Right.
it's something that we don't discuss because I do feel that we romanticize the ground operations a lot more, that direct
Sure.
combat, that direct
Sure.
engagement, but
Sure.
not realizing the importance of air support, right? A lot of the gentlemen that I know that have survived engagements are directly attributed to support, right? Whether it
Right.
be QRF, whether it be air, whether it be medical, logistics, trucks, you name it, man. Everybody's out there doing their best to do
Yeah.
what we need to do for that primary mission, which is, the guy on the ground, that rifleman. Everybody's a rifleman, right? Or something like that.
Right.
I think they say
Right.
still.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Whatever we learn, then that same move, shoot, communicate, right? I never fell in love with anything more than my Marines because of not their simplicity, but their intelligence and wisdom.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that's where all these systems, like, oh man, when I was in Al Qaeda, Iraq, we saw so many different things, so many different ways, so many different aspects of warfare that your head's spinning. You don't know which way to go, which way's left or right or up. And these wings, the wing groups, the Marines that came in, pulled the security, the Army dust off that came in and did the medical evacs and what do they call it? Egress or all the ins and outs. Okay, the QRF teams, everybody's role is so important that when we don't, I don't want to say not validate, but when we don't discuss, it's hard to validate when we don't discuss. Much like the issue of knowing what CareSource is and what their services are they provide. If we don't highlight them, if we don't discuss them publicly, if we don't put them on that limelight and say, hey guys, you're really going to need this when you get older, trust us. It's not on the purview of that young Marine. It's not on that purview of that young wife, the life they're living. God bless. I hope it stays that way. where they're healthy enough to maintain service, that they're healthy enough to not need to know all the different bureaucratical red tape and procedure and process, because that's where we deflect, we denigrate that purposeful of that mission execution, and it becomes, how do I survive? How do I survive in this existence? How do I remain with that identity to get to serve? And how do we then integrate and articulate solutions like the ones you're presenting today on the show that are just mind-blowingly awesome? Because as soon as you mentioned the care coordinator, I'm like, hey dog, like, I know I didn't say a lot before the show, we just kind of like a cold show, but my situation, you're telling me all the answers that I need right now, and I'm 100% behind this. Because if we on the show execute a good engagement, right, a good campaign, a good, let's just say distribution of information here, right, because this is a product, we all know that.
Yeah,
When
it is.
people consume this product and react and relate to it, that's what it's all about, man. It's the best feeling on earth to be able to say, man, I hope I get emails and phone calls today after the show, because I'm going to not share the show, but I'm going to share this information immediately today. And my guys, they're all going to, what's this? What's CareSource? So to move it a little bit further, how do we get in touch with CareSource, military veterans, and everything that you do?
Yeah. So again, I think caresourcemilitary.com is your first landing place. I think you can go there. You can learn more information. You can sign up for somebody to reach out to you, and you just got to give your name and your contact info. It's not like a 20 question form or anything like that. So we try to keep it simple, and so then that way somebody can reach out to you. You can also give us a call at 833-230-2080. And we can, answer all your questions, and hopefully give folks the information that they need to make a decision during open season. Because a lot of folks like us are, there's always a lot of hesitation, right, to jump into things like this, right? And it's something new. CareSource is new. A lot of folks don't know us from Adam, right? And so I totally get that. But I think, to your point, I think once we're able to engage folks and just have a conversation, I think it would remove some of that angst and hesitation, and then they would have knowledge, and the choice would be in their hands to make, which I think is a big deal. Just giving somebody the options and they can make that decision on their own is just a big deal to me. And glad we're a part of it. But yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of us. We're trying to get the word out there. Obviously I'm here today, and we're attending tons of events and trying to. Really one of the things that we did is, and still are doing, is sort of more of a grassroots approach in Atlanta and Tampa specifically. It's sort of like those kneecap to kneecap discussions, that we would have with our leaders in the military, right? But I think the more you can get in front of a family and answer all their questions, and show them that, hey, maybe we can help you solve some of your issues. That's when I think we've gotten the best response from folks. So yeah,
that's beautiful, man. I am so jazzed to have been able to talk about this stuff and bring that potential to our community, because I do profoundly believe in the vision, the execution, and the purpose here that CareSource and yourself, Ted, it's just remarkable. Because again, we're in a world today where we have hyper access, right? And that could create a very bad tension among what we see or perceive, right?
Sure.
And to have you on the show and go through, a little bit, be very honest and open about the sources and the resources and the availability and the process and how to communicate and engage. I think that's the best thing that we can do, and repeatedly do it, because this thing that we're talking about is medical care. It's difficult. We have to get on the person's level, communicate to the point where they understand and can discern enough to make those important decisions, like the one yourself and your company helps and assists through. That's just remarkable. All right. So, everybody, today we had Ted Painter on the Devil Doc Talk Show. We really like to thank you for your time today, Ted. Thank you for engaging with us and our audience and sharing yourself and a bit of your work history, your sense of service, your humility, your humbleness, and that sense of service that to me is just absolutely empowering, endearing, and authentic. Because to me, and again, I'm just a one guy here, right? But to our listeners and to our audience, I know that it's important to give ourselves the opportunities to provide ourselves within the community the solutions to so many problems that we are experiencing.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you having me. I mean, it's been a great opportunity, and again, obviously, I would love everybody who's eligible to sign up, but I'm just happy to be a part of it and happy to get people the word out there, and just, hey, you've got an option. If you don't select us, that's okay, but at least you have an option this year. And so really happy to be here, and hopefully this hits home with some of the listeners. So.
Drag slow. Each mile takes a piece you didn't know. The headlights blink like a fading star, chasing shadows that'll never fall. Dust on my boots, fire in my chest. Restless heart never gets to rest. It's a long road, yeah, no end in sight. Every step's a fight. Every step's a fight. But the wind keeps calling, pulling me along. It's a place I belong. Every town's a ghost, every dream's a death, but I keep moving, I'm already there. The cracks in the pavement, they tell my tale. Where I stumble, where I prevail. It's a long road, yeah. Place I belong.